with you. How you doing? It's been a little while, but it's nice to be back. Let's talk a little bit today about perforations and roulettes. There are two major means provided for separating sheets of stamps into individual units, like this 1939 New York World's Fair stamp. These two major means of separating stamps are known as perforations and roulettes. Not like, the roulette wheel in a casino, but I'll tell you what that is. They differ from each other in that a perforation consists of a hole of any shape being punched in the paper, while a roulette is just simply put, it's an incision. Perforations are designated by the number of holes contained within a distance of 20 millimeters, such as this, for example. This is actually a perforation gauge. You can see that all the little numbers here. And what you do is you take your stamp and you move it up the gauge until you get to where you reach the gauge that matches the number of perforations in the stamp. Well, perforations are designated by the number of holes contained within a distance of 20 millimeters and are recognized with this terminology. We call them perf 12, perf 11, perf 10, perf 12 and a half, perf 12 and 3/4, which is the number of perforations within a distance of 20 millimeters, which on here would be this scale up here in relationship to the distance horizontally on the stamp and the distance vertically also, which would this way. Okay. So roulettes are designated by name only, such as serpentine or serpentine, depending on where you live, or serrate or serrate, of course, depending on where you live, etc., stuff like that. There are several types of perforations. We have common perforations, which is more or less just a series of round holes of various gauge and designated as, like I said earlier, perf 11, perf 10, perf 12, perf 12 and 3/4, that kind of thing. See at the top, perforations there. We also have what are known as clean perforations. Clean perforations are any of the various kinds of perforations in which the holes are punched sharp and clean. These are actually kind of clean on this New York World's Fair stamp from 1939. So clean perforations, when we speak of clean perforations, perforations in which the holes are punched cleanly. Then we have what are known as rough perforations. They're the opposite, certainly logically. Common sense would dictate that rough perforations would be the opposite of clean perforations. The holes are not punched clean and sharp, but they show pieces of paper adhering to the edges of the holes. They're kind of rough looking. Then we have what are known as hyphen hole perforations. Hyphen hole perforations are a series of hyphen-shaped holes resembling somewhat the ordinary roulette, but differing in that they're hyphen-shaped incisions that are actual holes with some of the paper being removed in the hyphen shape itself. Then we have what are known as lozenge perforations. Lozenge perforations are a series of holes resembling a diamond shape or a lozenge, so to speak. Then we have what are known as pin perforations. Pin perfs are a series of tiny holes which give the appearance of pin pricks. Those are pin perforations. Then there are sewing machine perfs, which are a series of tiny pricks in the paper that are made by running the sheets of stamps under an unthreaded needle of a sewing machine to create perforations. That was actually done to stamps in the early days. Then we have what are known as part perforations. Those are stamps which are perforated at the sides but not at the top and bottom, or vice versa. The term is more or less used in referring to stamps issued in sheets which would ordinarily be perforated on all four sides but aren't. They should be collected in pairs. Part perfs should be collected in pairs to differentiate them from coil stamps, which they can be mistaken for. Then, of course, we have coil stamps. These are stamps that are issued in coils and not sheets. They're provided with perforations at the sides, side-wide coils, so to speak, or at the top and bottom, which we call endwise coils. Then you also have imperforations vertically. Imperfs are stamps which don't have perforations at the top and bottom. For example, there wouldn't be any perforations at the top here or at the bottom of this World's Fair stamp. And they're also included under the general term part perf, which where you have perfs at the top and the bottom are not on the sides vertically. You might not have them vertically, yet you'll have them horizontally. So again, that's an example of a part perf. Then we have imperforations horizontally, which is certainly the opposite of imperforated vertically. There are pairs that are imperforated in between. A pair of stamps either vertically or horizontally in which there are no perforations in between them. Such pairs usually have perforations on all four sides that differentiate them from ordinary stamps, but they're also of the part perf variety. A pair of imperforated between stamps usually occurs when a single row of perforations is skipped during the perforating process. So you'll have imperforate, for example, if you had a pair of these, there wouldn't be any perforations between them. That's an imperforated pair, so to speak. Also, you'll have compound perforations. Compound perforations are stamps that show two or more different gauges of perforations, such as perf 12 at the top and bottom and perf 11 on the sides. For example, if you had 12 perforations per 20 millimeters at the top and 11 perforations per 20 millimeters at the sides, then you have what is known as a compound perf. They're described, for example, as perf 11 by 10, perforated 10.5 by 12, that kind of thing. The first figure usually denotes the horizontal perforation. For example, 11 by 10 would mean that you have 11 perforations per 20 millimeters at the top and 10 perforations per 20 millimeters at the side. So the first figure would denote the horizontal position of the perforations, the 11, top and bottom, and the second figure, the vertical, would represent the side perforations. So 11 by 10 means 11 horizontal, 10 vertical side perforations. Then we have what are known as imperforate stamps altogether. These are stamps in which there are no perforations, either roulette or regular perforations provided for separating from one from the other. Usually they have to be separated by scissors or some other cutting device. They have to be cut apart with something sharp. So those are the various kinds of imperforations. Again, imperforations in roulette consist of common perfs, you have clean perfs, you have rough perforations, you have hyphen holes, you have lozenge perforations, you have pin perforations, you have sewing machine perforations, you have stamps that are partly perforated, you have coil stamps, you have stamps that are imperforated vertically, you have stamps that are imperforated horizontally, you have stamps that are imperforated in between them, and you have compound perforations, and then you have stamps that are just imperforated entirely. They had no perforations whatsoever. Okay, so there we have it. Hope you enjoyed this. And if you like it, please subscribe. And certainly attend a stamp club meeting in your community when you have an opportunity to do so. Stamp collecting is so much fun. Okay, see you next time. Have a great day ahead, will ya? And don't forget to finish your dinner.